Hi, this is Fred Copestake, your host to the Selling Through Partnering Skills podcast. Based on the book, the podcast explores how sales professionals can use the power of partnering intelligence to take their selling to the next level. By combining the skills associated with better partnering and existing best practice, salespeople can ensure their approach is more modern and collaborative. There are 6 elements to PQ, and in each episode we look at how sales professionals have used these and how their insights can contribute to your success. And welcome to this episode where I am joined by Ariel Fedorov, who is the author of Sellosophy. Have I said that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I got your name pronunciation correct as well.
Yes, thank you.
That's important. So, Ariel, before you tell us about Sellosophy, could you just give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm into sales for more than 10 years. Before of that, I was an electronic engineer working for the IDF, developing different system and managing a few sections. Then a little bit with time, I was driven into sales. Mostly I like the interaction between people, the ability to solve customer problems.
Okay, so just in case people don't recognize IDF, could you just explain what that is? I know because I've looked at your LinkedIn profile.
IDF is the Israel Defense Force. So this is a process that most of the youngsters in Israel are doing. They're joining the army for 3 years, serving the different units, and then they're going to proceed with their life afterwards. So I did a little bit different. I first went to the university, finished my degree in electronics, and only then I moved to execute my duties for the country.
Okay, and so you took your specialism into the military so that you could
Yes.
continue to practice that and use that.
It was a kind of a special program. Then you first finish your degree in electronic engineering, and then you are working as a specialized officer in the army.
Okay, and do you have to sign for slightly longer in that case?
Actually, you touch a very pain point. Usually you do it for 3 years, but when you do this change, you have to stay 6 years in the army. So you are doing 3 years as part of the Israeli law for free, and another 3 years as a contractor.
Okay. Now I had that was a fair guess because when I did some work over there and I met quite a few guys who opted to join special forces, and I know that if you did that, you'd have to serve longer. But then they said they got paid more and it was more interesting.
Yeah, but if you compare the pay that you can get in the Israeli army compared to the high tech and working for American companies or Israeli companies in the high tech industry, it's totally different pay grade.
Yeah, I guess so. But you're doing your duty. That's the important
Yes.
thing. Yeah. Oh, cool.
The duty part is 3 years, and then you are a contractor for another 3.
Contract for 3 with a specialism. Oh, that's cool. And then you moved into the world of sales. You said you were forced into sales, or?
Yeah, I was during the service, I did my MBA, and I was looking for a position that can combine together the technical skills that I had and also, the more business skills. And I think sales is a perfect spot that connecting technical skills because you are trying to solve customer problems with commercial skills that you are, learning in your MBA. And also it's great to meet new customers, new people every day. I think most of the people that went to sales, this is the main reason that they went there, because they don't want to spend the entire day in front of a computer.
It's ironic now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, now it's a very sad profession.
That's exactly what we're doing, but that is to still meet people and to have that contact. So,
yeah, it is.
So Sellosophy, tell me a little bit more about that.
In order to comprehend with daily activities of salespeople, right, you need to have some backbone, something that will hold you in different times. Sometimes when you have difficulties in your work or you need to understand other people. And I think that philosophy as a discipline is very useful for managers, for salespeople, for people in military, for commanders, for all the people that needs to lead other people. And sales in some domain, this is mostly about building relationship, right, with other people. We mostly creating partnership and solving customer problems. I'm talking about sophisticated sales, that when you have several meetings before the sale. So during this process, you are building a relationship. You are combining your ideas with customer ideas. Sometimes you challenge the customer and trying to change his situation. And all of that requires strength, mental strength. And I think philosophy is a good discipline, good knowledge to have in order to be effective in this domain.
No, and it's as I was saying to you before we started recording, I've started to read that, and I'm looking at some of the philosophy and how you take those and relate them to sales. And I mean, I think it's fascinating. I really like that approach.
Thank you so
It's
much.
cool, and this is why I wanted to get your take on the philosophy or the foundation that I use, which is that of partnering skills. And
Yes.
so if we can go through each of those partnering skills elements, the elements of PQ, and just have some of your thoughts around it, I think that'd be really interesting.
Yes.
So I usually start with trust. So trust is the foundation for relationships. Trust helps good communication, and I just love your thoughts on how can salespeople build trust in your view. What can we do to get that key component working for us?
So I think trust is not just trust between two people as a friendship, but it's also related to the have the similar set of beliefs, similar set of values that we have with other people. So usually, if you think about accountants will sell better to accountants, electronic engineers will sell better to electronic engineers. So sales is not just sales is a exchange of values of two different people. So you believe that the money in your pocket costs to you less or have less value than the product that you want to buy. And in order to understand your values, you need to share the values of your customer. So one of the key components here is to understand the structure and the thoughts of your customer before you're going to sell. And this is the way that you can build trust better. Another component is to build a strong brand or to represent the brand in professional way, and then the customer believes you and trusts your brand, and then the door is open when you are coming. And of course, the relationship part that everybody is talking about, it's crucial, but we need to think a little bit wider and not just think about the relationship between two people, but to have similar values, and then it will be much easier to build trust.
Interesting. No, that makes sense. And when you speak about brand, are you talking your personal brand? Are you talking the brand of the organization? How do you see that working?
I think it's not we are jumping a little bit further to something that I preferred before. So let's talk a little bit about the let's jump a little bit back, okay, before we go there, because
Go for it. No, please do.
I'm sorry that I know you had a question, but I will answer your question in a few moments. Okay.
You're the guest, Errol. You take it where you want to.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, first of all, why I combine philosophy and sales together. So, I tried to find if there is a training, a course in the academy, in some syllabus of some MBA, when we can study sales. And I didn't find much trainings about this subject. So, did you find something yourself?
Don't. You're about to start me onto something I get quite passionate about, which is
Yeah.
business schools, whether it's undergraduate, whether it's postgraduate. Don't train selling. And
And
pretty much everyone will go to organization where there's selling as a function.
yeah, yeah. So most of the open jobs that people are getting is you to be sales representative. After, if you're going to real estate, finance, the first thing that you do, most of the people, right? If you are not analytic or marketing, you're doing sales. You need much more sales representative in the organization than marketing people. Therefore, there will be much more opening positions. But there is no training for self in the MBA courses. So now the book that I wrote is not solving this problem, but it's trying to connect between the basic skills, the preliminary courses that you need to take, and the sales coursing. So for instance, if there would be a training on sales in the university or in the college on MBA, what the syllabus would be? Probably negotiation, conducting meetings, right? Building value in front of customer, okay? Creating personal relationships. But those are advanced courses. What will be the pre-courses for that? So what do you need to learn before? So I studied in electronic engineering. So I studied electronic engineering for 4 years. But this is not the right statement. I actually studied electronic engineering for 1.5 years. And 2.5 years, I was studying physics and mathematics, calculus, vectors, physics, quantum physics, etc. Only then, when I had this base, I could move to actually talking about electricity and algorithms and other stuff, which is the components of electronic engineering. So what will be the pre-courses, the preliminary requirements for the selling course? And I think the preliminary requirements might be ethics, reasoning, political philosophy, logic, right? The ability logic, which is ability to move people from their point of view to your point of view. If A is B, then and B is C, then A is C. Something that you need to convey during a sales meeting to move them from their position. So in this book, I try to show that the philosophy, okay, Chinese philosophy, European philosophy, Greek philosophy, is the pre-course, the preliminary requirements for developing your sales attitude, sales mentality, right? And the second point that is very important for me, why I wrote this book, I wrote many books about philosophy and sales, and unfortunately, without saying names, I didn't saw that there is enough books in sales that give you a full picture. And I can give you an example. For instance, if you want to cook, okay, so there is a recipe cookbook and there is a book about cooking. And those are two different things. So if you want to, create an omelet at home, right? So then you take a recipe book, you go, you buy ingredients, and you create a very good omelet. But let's say if I put you in a situation in other people department when you don't have all the ingredients, so you cannot execute and you cannot go by the recipe. It doesn't mean that you know how to cook, right? So you cannot create an omelet. You need to do something else. So the book about cooking will teach you about how heat affects meat, how to use microwave in order to not to burn so it will be a book about cooking that eventually you will become a cook and not just executor of recipes. And a lot of books about sales is just you need to do 5 things. First, go to customer. Second, tell him that you like him. Third, tell him your value proposition. Then check trust. But okay, and what will happen if you are in different situation? What about if you're selling software? What then? If you're selling hardware, if you're selling, I don't know, bricks, it's totally different situation. So then I try to take the core, and this is what I started to talk about, the core of a person, his philosophy about sales, and then connect it to a practical models that he can execute. Because after you read the book, you will forget 95% of what you read, 100%. But the philosophy, the main idea that you get from this book, maybe some a quote of somebody that will stay, and the picture, which is basically a model, may stay with you for some time, and then you can reuse it in different situations in life. So coming back to your question, you asked me how you build a relationship. So I wrote in chapter 3 a little bit about motivation and about motivation of our team, okay, of the people that we work with. And this is also a big portion of a relationship because first of all, you need to have very motivated, good relationship oriented people in your team. And is it okay? Am I going the right direction?
No, I
Have
love
your
it. No,
point?
this is great. No, no, no.
Okay.
People have heard me speak before. They don't want to hear me anymore.
So please, I'm sorry that because I wrote the point and you didn't mention it, and I felt that we are getting into details, and I wanted to talk a bit with why I wrote this book before
No, that's
I
perfect. It's
got
perfect.
into it. So I'm just thinking about, the chapter number 3. Okay, so in chapter number 3, I'm talking about a motivation of your team. It's basically building trust with your team. And when I start this chapter, I'm trying to talk about human, let's say, at the base of human motivation. Okay, and then if you heard about Professor Harari that wrote the book Sapiens, probably most of the people read this book already, right? It's about
Maybe
history.
not. Give us a 30-second.
So he's talking about the differentiator of humans from other creatures like sapiens is the human ability to create myths and believe in them. Okay, so basically we both believe in I don't know in dollar. Okay, you believe in dollar and I believe in dollar. So if you pay me $1, I will see a value in that, and therefore we can work together on a very big scale. So we can have million people working together, bringing product to one place to another place because all of us believe in the power of the dollar, right? So the payment, or for instance, we believe in a country, which is a myth, right? It's we believe that there is a country like Israel and we need to protect Israel. So I'm going to invest 6 years of my life protecting this country. But it's not. It's very difficult to explain it to a dog or to a whale or to a bird, right? So what
Correct. Yeah.
country is what? But human can understand. Even I don't know if apes can understand the concept of a country, right? And when it starts and when it's finished, when you cross the border, you don't cross the border. There is no mountain that is after the mountain. There is another country, but it's not like that, right? So what I'm saying is that basically the myths that we are telling to each other is the thing that makes us work together, and this is building trust. So you trust, maybe no, you don't trust me, but you definitely trust the dollar that I paid to you because it is have value for you. And we share the same value of the dollar. We think that the dollar is it's good money, it's a value. So when we share, you give me your dollar, I know that you gave me something valuable. So I'm giving you my product. So this is when I talk about trust. It's a little bit more than just trust between people, which is a very human thing. You mimic each other, you talk the same way, you have same body language, you look the same, you laugh from the same joke. This is a way for us to build relationships. But what is trust? Trust, it's a little bit more than that. It's a credibility. Okay, it's a sharing the same beliefs.
Interesting. Interesting.
So this moves me. I'm trying to connect it to my book as well, because this is why you you
Yeah,
approach
of
me
course.
and
Of
talk to
course.
me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So in chapter number 3, I'm thinking how to connect several ways to motivate people, and the trust is part of it. So there is a person named Viktor Frankl that he wrote a book about the Holocaust, and his idea may be summarized in one sentence. If you have the why, you can bear anyhow. So if a person have a reason to live, then he will go extra mile, work hard, and reach his target, his sales target, his goals. And one comparison I can show you, maybe crusaders, right? That sitting in France, drinking wine with their wives, everything is fine. And then suddenly they take their weapon and went for 3 years to total hell, to different climate, different places with no food, no friends, very harsh environment because they believe that they need to save Jerusalem from the infidels. Then you have Abraham Maslow that's saying something different, right? We know all the Maslow pyramid. that is saying, okay, if you first give them food, then you give them food and shelter, then you give them love, then you give them self-appraisal and the self-esteem, and then you reach self-actualization, then you will have the best working people because they will come in the morning very motivated because you give them all that. But it contradicts. Why it contradicts? Because on one hand, the Crusaders have a belief and they took all the levels of the Maslow pyramid from their lives in order to reach their goals, right? On another hand, Maslow is telling you if you want a person to reach his personal goals, you first need to give him food and shelter, etc. So those two things, it's very hard to combine them together in one model.
Oh,
Do you
understood.
understand?
Yeah, yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense.
And then you have another person, which is recent studies of Dan Ariely, Predictably Irrational, or Professor Kahneman, the
Yeah.
the Think Fast and Slow. So he's talking about something else. You have system one and system two, and you can trick system two by providing some tricks to a person, and if you trick him, he will do what you want. So you will scare him, and then you give him a long-hanging fruit. You will put your products on the top in front of his eyes. You will give him a book for free, uh, and then take something from else from him. And this is what Facebook doing, LinkedIn doing, all the Twitter is doing. They're basically using those mechanisms that we have in order to trigger this kind of behavior. So the question is how to combine all those three things which contradicts into each other. The first thing say, if you have a purpose to live, you will do whatever you need to do. The second thing, the second Maslow is saying, first give me, basic needs, and then you can, then the person will will look for a reason to live. So without food, he will not have a reason to live. First, he will try to find food, and then Kalman on that really saying you don't need all that. You just can trick them and they will buy from you, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do just trick them. Just give them this, like a magician. He will show you one hand, and the other hand he will take something from you, and or to create a trick, and this will work. And then I spend a lot of time trying to combine these three attitudes in motivating people into working with your own teams or to work with customers. And then I found a quote in the book of leadership and strategy, Lessons of the Chinese Masters. It's a very interesting book. You can look at the reference of my book and you can find this book. This is Lessons of the Huainan Masters that several Chinese philosophers that just combined together and wrote one book. I like it more than other Chinese stuff, but I'm
Yeah.
not an expert on Chinese philosophy. So I will just read it from my book, and it's like that quote: "Spiritual government is the very best. The next best is to make it impossible for people to do wrong. The next best after that is to reward the worthy and punish the disruptive." So basically, if you think about it, it's kind of settles those two approaches to motivation. The first thing is spiritual government, the very best. If you can make your customers and your people believe in what you believe, then you don't need anything else. And this is how countries work. This is how religions work. This is how great brands working, right? So people
Yeah.
just believe in this and they don't really care about. Then, if you cannot do that, because you are not honest enough with your people, because you are not, because you talk the talk but you don't walk the walk. And there is a quote of mine in my book that talking, ancient religions, religious leaders was willing to sacrifice their life for their religion. Not all managers willing to do that. So some people will not trust you, right? Or they can say, we believe in human promotion, we believe in sharing profits, but eventually you see the top level managers get rich and the salespeople get fired. So it's not always working in the commercial world. But if you cannot build a spiritual government like a religion, then the next best thing is to use Maslow pyramid. So make people the ability, first of all, take care of their basic needs, food, drinks, etc., and the security, job security, but then let them find a way to promote and develop themselves with trainings, with opportunities. Promote people from your organization, not recruit people outside if it's possible, right? If your organization is not poisoned, then people will believe that they can be promoted in the organization, they will stay. Even though they do not believe in your vision, they will believe that your company will develop themselves in the Maslow pyramid. It's basically don't let them do anything wrong, right? There is no way, there is no reason for you doing anything wrong. It is good for you to do good for the company because you are developing yourself in the Maslow pyramid. But if it's not working, and you cannot do that because you have no openings, because you want to recruit your friends from outside the organization, because you have not good people or something else, then you are forced to go and use the Dan Ariely approach or the Kalman approach, and then you can create bonuses, profit sharing. You can pay for home offices with like expense. You can give a bonus and they take the bonus if they don't reach, which is really bad thing to do for a salesperson, right? So this is a big punishment to give you a salary and then take away part of the salary of the salesperson if he didn't reach the target. So this is like really harsh way to govern your team. So and in the end, on the last page of this chapter number 3, I create a model which is basically a leverage model. So the strongest and the most powerful way to manage, if you manage to build a vision and make everybody believe in your vision. And this belief will also go to your customers, and then they will trust you, because if you can talk the talk and walk the walk, and your salespeople can talk the talk and walk the walk, then your customers will trust you. If you say the customer is first, and he is really first, right, and you execute it as he was first, you answering calls in the evening, you are coming to customer, you showing to the customer that he is first, and you trust you, then it will be trust, it will be credibility.
Cool. So spiritual government's the very best. Make it impossible to
Do wrong.
do wrong.
Maybe maybe we can change it a little bit. Make it not profitable to do wrong,
Okay.
or make it not reasonable to do wrong, because you can develop yourself inside the organization.
And then the third one is reward worth and punish disruption.
Yes, and
They're
then
the
this is
original. They're the
basically,
original quotes.
yeah, and
Okay.
this is how a lot of sales teams are built. So you have bonuses, you have profit
Yeah.
sharing, you have all those
Yeah.
things. But of course, first of all, if you can motivate them by belief, this if it's possible in your organization, this is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, so that's the model, and you call it the leverage model, that you would build everything around. If you get the team right, you get the people right, happy customers, and doing the right thing for them is going to follow as a consequence of those actions that you set up.
Yeah, I think if you have unmotivated salespeople, it's a death of any organization. If
Yeah,
you
why
have
would they even want to
sad,
work with customers and do the right thing for
exactly,
them? And
they need
yeah,
to wake up in the morning and be very happy. So the first thing that if they believe in your idea, this is great. If not, then maybe they can promote themselves in your organization. If they cannot, maybe you can give them some cookies, right? You can give them money. And so this is how I see that. Yeah. And of course, this is if your salespeople are happy and your customer service is happy, then the customers will be very happy.
yeah, yeah. So, which actually, then when we think about win-win, we talk about that a lot in sales. That kind of ticks that box. That covers that away. Um, I'm just looking at the elements of PQ here. So,
Of course.
interdependence. It means that people can then become interdependent. I, as a salesperson, to a degree, I'm dependent on the company, but I'm equally dependent on my customers. Without the customers, I can't exist. There's no point in me being. Um, we talk about change, and you mentioned something earlier on about salespeople having to lead change, or to certainly to lead to a degree. And I think
Yeah,
that fits in with that. And we're working towards an idea of a better future. We're looking forwards. We're not looking backwards. We're looking to create a better outcome, if you like.
but I think in PQ, as you show it, I think the first two points are critical because they are basically are laying the ground to all other points. So if you have trust, and then you, based on this trust, the customer believe that this is a win-win, then it create a relationship that will create interdependence between the
Yeah.
salesperson and the customers. And then of course feedback, and this is the normal work in every team. If you have feedback, positive, and then this will lead change, and change is the change of values. We are going to new values. So you have money, but now you need to put a new IT system. So you need to get out the money from your pocket and buy an IT system for $1 million, which is a big investment for the customer.
Hmm.
But he believes that it will help him to have a better future. And this is the light point. So I think it's not just points, but this is a ladder that you are moving customer from one point to second point. So you cannot go to comfort with change without trust.
I think trust works all the way through. They're all very much interrelated, but without trust, you're missing a big piece, and the rest are very difficult to start
But you
to
cannot
use.
start to work at future. Let's say take a very far example, right? You cannot work on point number 6, the future, without building trust and showing the customer that this is a win-win operation,
Yeah,
right? So you
they
first,
won't entertain the conversation. Yeah. Um, Another big part of the future orientation is how people make decisions, including the salesperson. And if you're always looking backwards and things that happened before, it's not so resourceful, it's not so useful as if we're looking to where we want to be. Because things change anyway, we know this. A salesperson operating today's environment, what gone before is, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but we can't go visit customers, we can't go do certain things that we did. We're going to have to be wired slightly differently. But
when I call a new customer a cold call, and I do, like, I work in a mechanism. First of all, I present myself, then I talk about the customer, okay, and then again I talk about myself. So, and when I do cold calling, I'm not just calling 100 calls per day. I look at this one company, I study the company, understand what is their product, what they are doing, who are the people, where did they work before. Usually, if I call somebody, I can see where he worked before. So let's say if he working in a startup and before he worked in Amazon and Google, then I assume that his salary in this startup is high and he is a very key person in this startup. So then I can talk with him about his mentality. When I call him, I present myself. My name is Ariel. I'm doing this and that. And the next step, I would say, I'm working with similar startups as you are. And those startups have a similar problems, which is A, B, C. Does it make sense? Yes. Have you experienced similar problems in Google? Because it's totally different company and different scale. You would say, no, never, because I had so many people. And now you need to solve all your problems by yourself in these small startups. You say, yeah, okay, okay, so I understand. There is another startup who took our solution, implemented it, and now we can save the money. And let me tell you about, and then I'm going to talk about myself. I will tell you about my solution. And then the customers see value in that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the thing is that what is trust? What is win-win? I need to understand what is win-win for the customer. So I need to spend at least a half hour before the call to do a research to learn what is their key performance indicators,
Hmm.
what is the main bottleneck in his industry, what is the background of the person, if he grew in this company so he doesn't understand structure, or he came from Google to this company so they brought him to put some structure. So if you're selling IT systems, it's different how to approach it, right? If you need to sell IT
Yeah,
system
yeah,
for
yeah,
somebody to work in startup. The only thing that he wants to do is fast, 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 fast. But if the guy is coming from Google, then he wants to have a structure that he's lacking in the startup, so I can talk with him about something that he needs. So before you call, okay, I think you should do a good research to touch the beliefs and the values of this specific person and this specific time and this specific company. And this work, and this demands work.
yeah.
It's time consuming.
Yeah, no, again, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. We've got to work out what value means to the other person. What we think, what marketing think, it's broadly irrelevant. It's got to be what they think it is. And again, I think with the philosophy and the thinking that you're proposing, that you talk about in the book, it very much makes sense. So oh no, look, it's brilliant. And look, I've got to value your time. I appreciate you've taken a little bit of time out of the day. I
Thank
know
you.
that you're en route to go and practice some of this stuff in real
Yeah,
life, which is great. No,
I need to make a living. So,
yeah, you've got to apply this stuff and get ready for the second book. Yeah. But no, that's brilliant. So just thinking, I like to finish with this question about the future and about, for yourself. What do you see yourself doing in the not necessarily near future, maybe sort of a little bit more advanced?
I don't know. I like to solve puzzles. Okay, so if there is a difficult market, a difficult business development opportunity, I really like a good challenge. I see it as like an engineer that I can build a mechanism that each person in this mechanism will be satisfied from executing his activities, and it will benefit all the stakeholders, both customers, salespeople, management, shareholders, etc. So this is something that I really like, an efficiency. So everybody is coming to work happy to do their work, growing themselves, growing the organization. And it is difficult to build those kind of mechanism. So I'm investing a lot of time to think about that, because every time is different. You cannot copy paste.
No,
And
that's true.
this is something that inspiring me. So if I can do it my whole life, I will be happy.
Brilliant. So you like a challenge, you like people to be happy, you like developing business. So if people want to get any hints and tips from you, how do they get in touch? How do they get in touch?
So
What's the best way?
so the best way, you just can look my book on Amazon. There are this is not a book about one topic. It's a book about 6 different topics, and each topic is described in 20 small pages. So you will not invest too much time on one idea. You will actually read it really fast, and you get 6 different ideas. And in the end of the book, and also I believe in the end of this podcast, I can share my email with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if you can, just send me your thoughts about the book or about what we just discussed, I will be happy to read that. I really like feedback, because makes me understand better myself and how to develop myself. And also I like to hear people ideas, because you know the
Sure.
experience is not in one place, it's everywhere, and we need to aggregate it together to create something more efficient.
Oh, I agree 100%. So the book is on Amazon, Sellosophy. I don't know why I have a
Yes.
problem with this. It's simple enough.
Philosophy, self
Sellosophy.
and philosophy.
Yeah. Um, but it is written by Ariel Fedor.
Elia
Correct.
Feather, yeah,
You
because yeah,
use a shorter name.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the my family name, the original family name.
Yeah.
It's Feather,
So we
like
can find
like
that.
feather, like writing.
Cool. We'll put your email into the show notes. LinkedIn, that's where I came across you. People
Yeah,
can connect on there and mention
sure.
that they've
I'm
worked
I'm
with.
happy. It will be great.
Brilliant. Ariel, thank you so much for your time. It's really interesting. I love philosophy anyway, and sort of those different sorts of thinking. And I know you've only touched on a couple of things in the book. There's plenty of others. So yeah, I would definitely encourage people to go and find that and to have a look and just, spend a bit of time thinking. It'll do
Thank
them
you.
no harm at all, eh?
Thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
No, thank you, Ariel. Thank you for listening to the Selling Through Partnering Skills podcast with me, Fred Copestake. If you liked it, why not leave a review? If you didn't, also leave one. Remember, it's all about the feedback. If you want to learn more about your own PQ, why not go to the book website, which is www.throughpartnering.co.uk, and there you can take a little self-audit. And of course, if you want to get in touch to talk about how you can use partnering skills, you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So until next time, keep thinking about how you can adopt a more modern and collaborative approach to selling by selling through partnering skills.